said there's no clear lanes, but they do this deliberately. You think they deliberately leave these gray areas?
Oh, absolutely. Because if you provide guidelines, what do entrepreneurs and companies do, Charles? They meet those guidelines. When you keep it uncertain, it gives you.
Said there's no clear lanes, but they do this deliberately. You think they deliberately leave these gray areas?
Oh, absolutely. Because if you provide guidelines, what do entrepreneurs and companies do, Charles? They meet those guidelines. When you keep it uncertain, it gives you options for him to continue to engage in regulation by an enforcement, right? That's how he's doing it. I went on record to say that, to predict that he's going to sue an exchange or two by the end of this year and claim that they're selling unregistered securities other than Bitcoin, but he won't tell you which ones are securities.
Right.
You know, that's the problem.
Right. And it's hard to be ignorant of the law if the law doesn't exist.
Exactly. Absolutely.
It's one thing to say, okay, I didn't know, and it was on the books, but it's really despicable.
It's disgusting, really, is what it is. He keeps going on record to saying these exchanges are selling securities. And then you ask, well, which ones? And he won't say, because now we know from his comment that you just asked me about, he's going to go with they're all securities except for Bitcoin, which makes this Ripple XRP case extremely important.
You lost your color for a minute, now you black again. Yeah, I'm on a blockchain with it, and my blockchain monkeys full of octane in them. You know the vibe, plus we shredded than a motherfucker. Yeah, we crash monkeys. Yeah, we crash monkeys. It go Planet of the Apes, gorillas in a mess. All these bad rooms all over my shit. It go Planet of the.
What is going on, blockchain monkeys? Eagle here, I'd like to thank you for coming to my jungle. And first of all, I'm no financial advisor whatsoever, nor am I professional in blockchain technology. But there's one thing that I absolutely will do, and I'll give you my opinion. And so today, I'm just going to get right to it. We have Bank for International Settlements to allow banks to keep 1% of reserves in Bitcoin. Now, you got to remember, when they say Bitcoin, they're talking about the whole space. So here we go. And ladies and gentlemen, it just keeps on going. It's a continuous approach to the top, okay? Despite its skeptical approach, the digital currency is exasperated by its recent cryptocurrency market crash. It looks like the Bank for International Settlements intends to extend its hand to the new asset class by allowing banks to hold up to 1% of reserves in cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin, okay? Indeed, BIS, Basel Committee on Banking Supervision, BCBS, has made the proposal for limiting the banks to total exposures Group 2 crypto assets to 1% of Tier 1 capital in its consultative document titled Second Consultation on the Prudential Treatment of Crypto Assets. Wait, it gets juicy here, okay? Group 1 versus Group 2 assets. Specifically, Group 2 refers to the assets that do not meet classification conditions and include specific tokenized traditional assets and stablecoins, as well as unbacked crypto assets, as opposed to Group 2. Group 1 includes tokenized traditional assets and stablecoins to meet that classification conditions. And so check this here. Banks' exposures to Group 2 crypto assets will be subject to an exposure limit. Banks must apply the exposure limit to their aggregate exposures to Group 2 crypto assets, including both direct holdings, cash and derivatives, and indirect holding, i.e. those via investment funds, ETF, ETN, and special purpose vehicles. The document also specified that the bank's total exposure to Group 2 crypto assets must not be higher than 1% of the bank's tier capital at all times, in line with the Basel framework, which includes all the BCBS's standards. The large exposure rules of the Basel framework are not designed to capture large exposures to an asset type, but to an individual counterparties or groups of connected counterparties. This would imply, for example, no large exposure limits on crypto asset where there is no counterparty such as Bitcoin. And so you tell me, is this something that's going to stop at 1%? Or is this going to progressively go higher as the years go on? Because I'm looking at this BIS article publication, and it seems like this has no plans of slowing down. You have here key takeaways. A burst of creative innovation is underway in money and payments, opening up business of a future digital monetary system that adapts continuously to serve the public interest. And so we have here structural flaws make the crypto universe unsuitable as a basis for a monetary system, says you, okay? It lacks a stable nominal anchor, while limits to its scalability results in fragmentation. Contrary to the decentralization narrative, crypto often relies on unregulated intermediaries that pose financial risk. And so they put here, a system grounded in central bank money offers a sounder basis for innovation, ensuring that services are stable and interoperable domestically and across borders. Such a system can sustain a virtuous circle of trust and adaptability through its network effects. New capabilities such as programmability, composability, and tokenization are not the preserve of crypto, but can instead be built on top of central bank digital currency CBDCs, fast payment systems, and associated data architects. But I had a chance to listen to Brian Brooks. Hey, Brooksy, hit me.
Blockchain, because there are, of course, dozens and dozens of blockchains. But the concept of a real blockchain is it is a public ledger. You're right about that. And so unlike the bank where, the transactions are known only to the bank executives, it is true that the blockchain is public. On the other hand, it is not true that your name's on the blockchain. What you see on a given blockchain is that this internet address transmitted X Bitcoin or X XRP tokens or whatever to that internet address. To figure out who those people are requires a fair amount of forensic skill. There are companies that do that, but it's very, very different from the government being able to either A, see that it's Brian Brooks sending to Brooks Entwistle this many Bitcoin. That is not possible. But more important, Elon, to the open point, nobody controls it. Whereas the government does control the CBDC.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, it is DLT up in these streets.
It's DLT up in these streets, man. That's why we rip all on that blockchain.
Making use of DLT with central bank money. Who are you kidding? Come on, subscribe. And we will all see each other on the moon.
Cause it's the standard in this bitch. XRP. I went to YouTube University, and now they mocking me with no degree. We saying by the swift, keep it walking, respecting elders in these bushes. Bitcoin is talking.
You don't have to be rich to be taking advantage of this. This was the beginning of the greatest transformation of wealth the world has ever fucking seen since World War II.
Blockchain. We talking about an intellectual choo-choo train. It's DLT up in these streets, man. That's why we rip all on that blockchain.